If you've been following along and have never joined a design boot camp, I'm going to encourage you to sign up. It's 5 hours of workshops and we have live versions going on often so you can come and ask questions. Go to www.designsweetcourses.com/designbootcamp. If you have been struggling to get sales from your design work or understanding what you really need to do to make money, I have the workshop for you. On September 23rd, I'm hosting my first ever Profitable Designer Workshop. This 1-day, 3-hour workshop is only $97, but I have a discount for all my podcast listeners. Go to carinagardnercourses.com/profit and put in the code podcast for $50 off. I can't wait to see you more profitable. Welcome to the Make and Design Podcast. I'm your host, Carina Gardner. On this podcast, we're unraveling the everyday joys and dilemmas of design, making, and business. For makers who want to be designers and for designers who are makers, this is your inside scoop to help you grow your business and bring more creativity to your life. In my head, I am calling this the Good, Better, Best episode. And that's because I, long time ago, had a lesson in one of my courses called Good, Better, Best. And actually, I taught the same lesson at the University of Minnesota when I was teaching there as a doctoral student. So let's talk about Good, Better, Best and why you need to question whether the design work, or this is for anyone, anything other than design work that you've come out with is your best work. Well, this is a really tough one, you guys, really tough, especially for designers to kind of really narrow down and decide whether the work they're putting out is just good, if it's better, or if it's best. Now, there are circumstances, and I think someone would tell me, you should be always putting out your best work, okay? Best is a tiny bit relative, right? And it depends on the medium. For example, if you are coming out with a digital kit, okay, that's just going out to the masses, it's going out into one of your online shops, I expect your best work or your better work for that digital kit. I don't necessarily expect you to spend hours and hours and hours on it. Whereas for maybe a paper line that's going to be published or a fabric line that's going to be published, I will try to make it more of my best work. Why? Because there's a company involved, we're producing something. I will try to make it my best work, right? The other thing that's really difficult is that over time you become better, right? So let's dig a little bit back. So my first fabric line for Riley Blake was called Dainty Blossoms. But if you go even further back, 5 fabric lines before that, and which I can't even think how many fabric lines I've done for Riley Blake at this point. But if you go back before that, I designed for Northcott. I did 5 lines for them before I moved to Riley Blake. I did a line. My very first line was called Coquette, okay? And I actually had parameters that, as someone who's not a designer, or if you were looking on the outside, you'd be like, why did she choose some of those colors? Well, I wasn't allowed to use pink. I wasn't allowed to use red. There was some parameters that were kind of stuck. So I ended up with this green-brown line, which in retrospect is actually, it's a pretty cool line, but was it my best work? Oh my gosh. It was for the time, right? At the time, I felt like it was my best work. It was the first time I had been doing a lot of illustration. When we think of designers and commercial artists, we tend to be the people who put all the things together to make something beautiful. Very often, we're not the ones putting stuff together and illustrating it, right? So it was kind of my first time with a true illustration gig. And it was tough, you guys. It was tough for a lot of things. I was using Photoshop. That was one thing. That Photoshop, you guys, for fabric design, not the way to go. If you take my fabric design class now, it is incredibly easy to build a repeat because I show you how to do it in Illustrator. But I didn't start doing that until 6 or 7 lines. It was probably 7 or 8 lines actually which was by the time I was at Riley Blake. I was doing them in Illustrator and it took so much less time. So I got to spend more time on the artwork, which was really good, right? So I wouldn't compare a line I did 12, 14 years ago. Oh my gosh, I think it was 14 years ago to a line that I would do today. And I'm recording this, and it's not going to come out for, probably a month after recording this. But at this time, I'm actually working on a new fabric line. I haven't turned one into Riley Blake, and I need to get one in. I've been very, very bad about not getting things in on time because it's just been super busy, and I'm kind of on my own schedule with my fabric lines. So I started working on it, and I've been showing you guys the artwork. It is not good, you guys. I mean, it's definitely not better or best, but it is okay at best. Okay. Especially like I was showing the concept art on my Instagram feeds, which if you want to check that out, that's at Carina Gardner Designs is mostly where I show kind of like all the process stuff. I'll show a couple of things on the at Carina Gardner feed, which is my fabric feed, but I'm mostly showing like process and design stuff on at Carina Gardner Designs because it's a kind of a totally different thing. Right. So anyway, I just, like the first stuff I come out with is just so. It really is. And then I get it into the computer. I start working on it in there. And I don't know where it's going usually. It's just going to evolve and change and evolve and change. If you think you can design something for a fabric company or a scrapbooking company and it's going to be your first go around, either you are a seasoned designer, lucky, or foolish. Because rarely does the first time around on anything make it to print, okay? Which is why I talk to my Design Suite members and we start off online. Why? Because then we get the hours in, we get the experience in, and it starts building your portfolio, but you're also getting better as you're doing it, right? You're suddenly making good stuff, and your good stuff is getting better. And until you do a lot of good stuff, you don't know what better is. And you certainly don't know what best is, which is crazy to say, but it just is true. You don't know what your best is because you're so busy making the good stuff. You think the good is just fine, okay? So I have 3 things that I thought I would talk to you guys about how you can recognize when something is getting better. Not maybe necessarily when it's the best, but when it's getting better. And if you're on YouTube with me, which is making me laugh, I'm like motioning my hands and I'm noticing I still have a tattoo on my hand from my silhouette pool party photo shoot that we did a week ago. I can't believe this this is a silhouette tattoo, which is insane that it's lasted this long. So anyway, if anybody's been noticing that, that's actually making me laugh. Okay, let's talk about the 3 things. Now, these are not foolproof, you guys, and it is always difficult to look at your own work and be what's the word I'm looking for? Just to look at it objectively. That's what I'm looking for, because there are some of us who look at our artwork and we hate it. We hate all of it, even if it's great, even if it's good, which good work is good, right? We hate it. We think we haven't done amazing because we hold ourselves to somebody else's, whatever. Either that or we think that we should be somewhere that we just maybe aren't at the moment, right? The second thing is people tend to be the other way, which is they think their artwork is fantastic. I've met a few of these. They think that what they've produced in 10 or 20 hours is just phenomenal when their 10 or 20 hours still at the beginning of their careers. And so their 10 or 20 hours doesn't look the same as an artist who's been designing for 15 years. It does not look the same. 10 or 20 hours from a 15 seasoned artist looks really different than 10 or 20 years for someone who's been doing it for 1 or 2 years. It just does. And it's probably good at best, not best, okay? And that's tough, okay? That's tough, especially if they think they are doing their best work, because at that time they are doing their best work. But is it good enough for a fabric company, or is it good enough for a scrapbooking company? Who knows, okay? Sometimes it is, but very often it's not. So that's where it gets really difficult, because you have to sit down, look at your stuff and go, is this good enough? Is this better? or is this my best? Okay. And it might be your best at the moment, but it's not best for the industry. And that's kind of the divide line. That's where things get a little bit tough, I think. So let's talk about these 3 things. The first one is time. Okay. There's 2 parts to this time thing, and I've already kind of mentioned it, but this time thing goes like this. Number 1, the time that is spent on the project. Okay. If you are working on a huge project, and I hear of, like there are silhouette designers out there, not silhouette designers for the public, but they're like silhouette designers. They're like designers, and they're doing like this amazing, crazy work. I bet you follow some of them online because they're phenomenal. They're doing like, birds or butterflies with the most intricate pieces, teeny tiny little pieces. And it takes them like weeks, if not months, to create these masterpieces. There's a girl who, and I don't even know what her Instagram handle is or anything, but she like creates these full montage cities. Okay. And they take her months to do. And it's like a single project. Okay. That is best work, right? Because it's incredibly detailed. It takes a lot of time. We know that is best work, right? But for many of us, we're working on smaller projects, right? So your best work for a digital kit or for an SVG file is quite different than your best work for a fabric collection. So you have to assign the amount of time you put towards it accordingly, right? Best work for a fabric line, if you're trying to get a fabric deal, is going to take a lot of time, or it should anyway, especially if you're at the beginning of your career. If you're kind of somewhere in the middle, or you've already been a graphic designer or whatever, it might take you less time. But I kind of even doubt that, because every industry is particular. Even though I'm in a good stage of my career as a designer in the crafting industry, if I decided tomorrow I was going to migrate and move into advertising, it's like a whole nother learning curve for someone like me. I've got like start all over again. Just because I have the illustrator skills doesn't mean I know how to do that industry. And it's like starting from scratch. Okay. So time, I said, had 2 parts. One is the actual project itself. The second part of time is how long have you been doing it? So are you a seasoned designer? Are you a new designer? Your best work at year 2 is very different than your best work at year 7 or 10 or 15, right? Okay. So think about the time it takes, and maybe your 10 hours might really take 50 hours, okay, for where you are in your career. And that's okay. Okay. So you're just kind of gauging it and trying to produce it. Okay. The second thing that I would tell you to look at is to think about your editing. And I usually call this your editing eye. Okay. So when you have an editing eye, you see this all the time on like, HGTV or interior design type challenges and stuff. It's like they'll put a bunch of stuff out and then they'll take something away. Okay. As designers, we should be doing that all the time. We should be, like if I'm making a card, very often I'll make it and then I'll pull something out, or I'll change the coloring or change the stroke line. I'll edit it down because I've almost always put too much in. Okay. So like, do you have an editing eye to whatever you're working on, and have you edited it several times? Okay. For big projects, you should be editing all the time. Okay. Even as a seasoned designer, I cannot even tell you guys how many fabric collections I have that are totally rejected. Scrapping lines that go from 12 papers that only 1 or 2 are left in the final, the final papers that went to press. You guys, it just takes a lot of time and a lot of editing to get something exactly right for market. And sometimes it's not because it's not beautiful. It's just because it's going up against several other fabric lines coming out, or because we know what a certain market is looking for. Okay. Lots of those things happen, or we feel like a paper doesn't have enough, or it's a blender and it has too much. There's all sorts of reasons why we continue to edit things down or edit things out. Like I'll be working on a fabric and it will never see market, and I'll have worked on it for 10 or 20 hours and it's just out. It in no way makes it. Okay. That happens all the time, and that's okay. That's the way this market is supposed to work, because only the best things should make it to market. Okay. The third thing is direction. Okay. I was thinking about this, you guys, because I I have been working on this fabric line, right? And when I started the line, I had an idea of the direction. Now, my sketches didn't necessarily show that, but in the back of my head, I had been thinking about this particular theme the whole time. So I kind of actually knew what the fabric collection's name was. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes it evolves with the collection. But in my head, I had some really good ideas of what I wanted it to be. I'd been working in a color scheme that I really liked for silhouette, and I was going to bring it over for this line. And I had been thinking about some inspirational, like really old pieces that were inspiring me for the line. Okay. Sometimes when you finish a collection, it is nowhere near what your inspiration is. That is okay. But one of the ways to gauge whether it's good, better, best is sometimes to go back to the original inspiration and decide, was I supposed to stay on the same direction? Or should I have made some, or did I make, depending on how you look at it, like too far of a veering from the original artwork or the original idea, okay? And it can go either way, but it's something to really think about. I'm still examining and thinking about my own work and trying to decide, did I make it too modern? Did I make it too traditional? Is it the right feeling? And that's a lot of what this whole thing with direction is I'm trying to decide, is it the right feeling? Do I come away and feel like it's correct? And depending on the medium you're working for, I know I've been talking a lot about fabric lines, so I know if you're here and you're like, Carina, I am a advertising graphic design artist or whatever, like you need to think about it in terms of your own medium, right? I'm just giving fabric as the example because that's what I've been working on. So I've been thinking about exactly what I'm supposed to do for this line, and then I lay the whole thing out and I start playing with it together and see whether it works together. And that's the other way I can see if something is good, better, or best. When I put them up against each other, is there a super strong one? Is there a weak one? Do they play nice together? Okay. And so that helps me decide whether something is good, better, or best. Now, this is the other thing about good, better, best. I think I can tell when something's good. And I'm pretty sure it's not as well as the good, but I can tell when something's my best work. It is the easiest to figure out if something is better, right? Because I feel like everything I'm making is better than the thing I made before. And that is the key, you guys. Continue to make artwork that is better than what you did before. Even if it's fast artwork, like if you're just doing SVGs and you're just trying to produce, just try to get better than the artwork you have before. In one of my my journal things that I write every day, I wrote for a while, I get 1% better in my design work every single week because I do my artwork in week allotments. And so that has really helped me determine how something is getting better. Now, it's really hard. I mean, I can usually tell if something's my best work, but the problem is that the moment I do the best work, my best work, is I'm ready to outperform, ready to do it better the next time, right? And then that becomes your best work, right? So you're trying to consistently outdo yourself, all right? Okay, hopefully you got a lot from that. That's a lot of information about good, better, best. It is one of those fine lines that we struggle as designers or in any other field. If you're in realty, if you're in sales, you are always trying to get better. You know what your good is and what's your best, right? So in any field, I think it's something that we don't talk about very often. It's easier to talk about in design because I'll look at work and I'll be like, that's good. But is it your best, right? It's a tough thing. And it's a tough thing to tell a designer that the artwork just isn't the best work or it's not best for industry standard. And I hate that. But it also makes you a better designer if you can take that criticism and take it to the next level. Okay. If you want to learn more about me, you can find all of my stuff at carinagardner.com. That's fabric, paper, and courses. And I hope to see you there. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.